Well, it's that time of year when champagne is on my mind, so let's take a look at champagne cocktails today. Delicious. This is garbage. Let's turn it into a cocktail. Now, a long way back, I did a champagne cocktail here on the show, and I like that recipe. It's pulled directly from David Wondrich's Imbibe, but that's not the only way to make a champagne cocktail. The very earliest version of the champagne cocktail that we know of, that we have in print, it was printed in 1855. It's an account of the building of a railroad in Panama. It was a simple drink of crushed ice, sugar syrup, bitters, and champagne, and served just that way. It was actually in a tumbler, or a rocks glass tumbler, whatever you want to call it. Fill this up with cracked ice. A little bit of simple syrup. I'm going to do 2 bar spoons. People did used to like their drinks pretty sweet, particularly in the 1850s. I'm going to say a couple dashes of Angostura bitters. I'll stir that up a bit. And the champagne at that time probably would have been something a bit sweeter, certainly sweeter than a modern brut champagne. The champagne of that time would have been something a bit sweeter, certainly sweeter than like a modern brut, you know. The equivalent that I was able to get is this Asti from Martini and Rossi. No reason to spend big bucks on your champagne cocktails unless you're just trying to do a Gatsby and show everybody how wealthy you are. There you go. And yeah, pour it right over the ice. That's the way they did it. And of course that's going to foam like crazy. Give it a little stir. And maybe give it a little more champagne. Whatever you want to call this stuff. And there we have an 1855-ish champagne cocktail made without champagne. That is delicious. Holy shit. That's really good. That 1855 account says that once you've had one of these, you will continue to have them, as a warning. That is actually really surprisingly orangey and sweet. And without being too sweet, I mean, it has like an orange flower water kind of vibe to it. Like it tastes almost like you added orange blossom water to it. There's no like challenging notes in this at all. The bitters are bringing like Christmassy spices to it. Honestly, that is crazy delicious. You know, if you think about like the champagne-oriented brunch cocktails, I like this better than all of them. I'd rather have this than a mimosa. It's almost like a Campari Spritz. The Campari Spritz is a lot more bitter, but there's actually a lot of sweetness in Campari with its bitterness. This is like that without that super bitterness. And there's something about the extreme frothing of it that's actually quite pleasing as well. I gotta say, this blew my mind. This is good. And I think that the sweeter champagne matters here. I don't think you would go with a really dry champagne. Shit. Happy New Year. The more modern version of this, at least as far as Imbibe tells me, was codified in 1898. And that is going to be more or less the version that I made the last time I did this drink on the show. I'm going to do it again, starting with a sugar cube. Wondrich is a fan of George Kapler's 1895 suggestion of using Peychaud's here. I haven't tested that myself, but it does sound lovely, actually. So I'm going to try that now. I will soak that in bitters. And I want to make sure that my whole sugar cube is quite red. Okay, my sugar cube is prepared. Set that aside. I'm going to place that at the very bottom of a coupe, like this one. Just drop that right into the coupe. Boom, like so. And I pause here because this drink at this time might have been served with a lump of ice. The earlier version, lots of crushed ice. By now, just a nice lump of ice. But that won't look really good in this coupe, and it will interfere with the effect that the sugar cube is going to have. The sugar cube is really a nucleation point for bubbles to form. So instead, what I'm going to do is something somewhat silly. I'm going to take my mixing glass, and I'm going to pour a ½ ounce of cognac into this mixing glass. Just a ½ ounce. Now, at a New Year's Eve party, you might be making many of these, and since this is our New Year's episode, more or less, I will be using my very fancy glass jugger. So roughly a ½ ounce, and there we go. ½ ounce of cognac, and I'm going to crack some ice over it now. That's all I'm going to do. It's barely enough liquid to stir, and it's a weird move. I will grant you that. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I want to not have this drink continue to be diluting in the glass I'm drinking it in, and also because I need this diluted and chilled. And yeah, I'm using a Pierre Ferrand 1840, available from Curiata, using the link in the pin comment below. Check out the How to Drink more or less official bottle collection over there. Now I will strain that. And I'm going to not pour this onto the sugar cube. If I pour it onto the sugar cube, it could dissolve or break up that sugar cube. We actually don't want to do that. Now I will top that up with a dry champagne now in 1898. So we're going to go for a Brut here. I think the Chandon is the way to go. I'm not savoring any of these. Why not? I don't know. Just don't feel like it. And here we go. Just pour this down. I'm going to sneak this down the side. I don't want it to foam up too hard. But you'll see that the drink is foaming quite heavily from the sugar cube. That's the sugar cube being used as a nucleation point for the bubbles of the champagne. So it kind of puts on a little show for you. That's the idea of the sugar cube. It will slowly dissolve into the drink, but it's not going to add a lot of sweetness. This one's breaking down pretty quickly, though, I gotta say. And a lot of the color is leaching out of it, so that means that I'm adding the flavor of the bitters to the drink now as we wait. And the longer we wait, the more it'll do to it. So here we go. This is a champagne cocktail, 1898-ish. Not bad. Personally, it's a bit dry for my taste. Like this, you know, a drop of Simple to go with that sugar cube, not a crazy idea. And I wonder also if they wouldn't have used a sweeter champagne in 1898. You know, it's a big swing from an Asti to a Brut. I think a demi-sec or sec would probably be maybe the better choice. This could be just a touch sweeter. That sugar is not really ever going to dissolve. It is collapsing, but it's never going to dissolve into that drink, I don't think. Maybe I'm saying things that aren't true. Maybe it is dissolving as I speak, and all I have to do is wait, and I'm just completely wrong. Let me just show you a couple of quick ideas to further this. One, a bar spoon of Simple to go along with all of that. I think that that's a nice addition to one of these. If you want to lighten it up, if you have a Brut and you think maybe it should have been something a little bit sweeter, and that sugar cube is really kind of more presentation than actually like an ingredient. Oh, I think that balances it a lot. I also think that if we're going to get this bitters in there, really put a drop or two in there. Now the color of the drink is about the same as the sugar cube. It doesn't look like a cherry sitting in there. And I like that a lot. I think that the bitters actually in the drink, they express much better. That's nice. The other thing, I don't think a lemon twist would be unwelcome here. I think pulling a peel of lemon and doing a little expression over the top would be very nice. Oh, that's lovely now. That's very, very nice. I like that quite a bit. I mean, it's codified in some books, but I don't think that the champagne cocktail is a capital letter proper noun. I think you can dress it up how you like. And those are just a couple of options, and I think this is already much better. I actually like that a lot. I mean, this is much more rounded out, brighter, and balanced. It's less bracingly dry. It just took the sharp edges off the drink a bit. So that covers the bare roots of the drink and also the champagne cocktail that I think most of us are familiar with. That 1898 version with a little cognac in it that I made on the show previously, and also how you might adjust it to your personal taste, right? But there's a couple of variations that I think are worth looking at. Let's take a look at those right after this. Welcome back to a very How to Drink New Year's. There is a drink called a Prince of Wales cocktail. Actually, there are several drinks called the Prince of Wales cocktail, all of them with different specs, all supposedly invented by the same Prince of Wales, and all involving some amount of champagne. I'm opting to go for the version that appears in Imbibe, mostly because I think this is the more accurate one. There's another one floating around online that just says it's a champagne cocktail made with Curacao and something else. This is a bigger departure, a lot going on with it, and also it gets us some rye, which if you're a whiskey person, this might be your champagne cocktail. So this drink was supposedly invented by Queen Victoria's son, Albert Edwards, the Prince of Wales. The guy liked to make drinks, apparently. He's quite a bon vivant, a real party animal, and was well known amongst the upper crusties and socialites of the day as being a heck of a bartender to have around at your house. So I'm going to start with a shaker. This drink goes in a shaker to start with. And I'm going to add to this a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup using the Waldorf Astoria glass jigger here. We kind of have to eyeball that. You can kind of use some of these like Fleur de Lis things on the side here. There's my 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. Now I'm going to add about a cube of pineapple, believe it or not, which we have pre-cubed over here. And I'll probably eat a couple of these as well. This one looks good for the drink, something like about that. This one looks good for me. This one looks good for me too. This one also looks good for me. Now, a bar spoon of maraschino and a single dash of Angostura bitters. Now 1.5 ounces of rye. 1.5 ounces. Now I'm going to add ice to that and shake the heck out of it. And I really want to shake this hard to squeeze everything out of that pineapple. Pulverize it, destroy it, get all the pineapple juice out of it that we can. Strain that into a coupe. I would say double strain it, really, because we have a lot of pineapple pulp here we want to get rid of. Top that up with some Brut. I think pretty specifically Brut, in fact. Ooh, that's exciting. Wow. When you hit it with the lemon, it erupts. Drop the lemon in. And there we have the Prince of Wales cocktail. It is quite dry and yet balanced. Boy, do I even taste the rye in there? I do, I guess. Ooh, that's interesting. That is a much more delicate cocktail than I would have expected. The flavors are not in your face at all. The cherry notes of that rye are quite loud. I always pick those out. That's a very cherry rye. I like that a lot. And they work very well with the pineapple. There's a pineapple kind of cherry thing happening in this drink. It's good. Did the Angostura show up? They're doing something. I trust that they belong in there. I don't taste them, but I bet you'd miss them. Let's keep going here a little bit. There's a lemony tartness, astringentness to the front of this flavor profile. I would not have expected that. For a drink that is this dry to actually be pretty well balanced, I'm impressed. I do wonder if I slightly underestimated how the amount of simple, but it's not bad. It's very drinkable. It's right on the edge of being out of whack, where it's too sweet or too dry. Part of my brain wants to play with it. I think that if I do, I'll mess it up, so I'm gonna leave it alone. It has a lightness to it that really catches me off guard. This taste is barely heavier, barely more going on here than a glass of champagne. It is not a drink that I would say is a cherry pineapple drink. It's a champagne drink. It's like champagne that someone blew some cherry and pineapples through. That's probably the best description. Very nice. Let's move on to the next, and I'll say final, champagne cocktail right after this. Well, there is one more champagne cocktail I want to look at. It is from Harry Craddock's Savoy cocktail book. It's the Chicago cocktail. I don't know much about it other than that, but it sounds very nice. You start by taking your coupe, and we're going to rim this with some sugar. To do that, I will cut this lemon in half. The book says, frost the glass with sugar. I'm inclined to believe that that means the entire glass. So I'm kind of going a little insane here with my lemon. I'm going to attempt to really, truly frost this glass with this sugar. I don't know how successful I'll be, but nevertheless, here I go. It's pretty cool looking, actually. Should be in the freezer. My freezer's not set up to accept it, so we will simply have to deal with the fact that my glass isn't cold enough. In my shaker, I'm going to combine a dash of Angostura bitters and a dash of Curacao. Really what they're saying is equal parts. Whatever you put for Angostura, put the same for Curacao and vice versa. And now 2/3 of an ounce of cognac. Again, the Pierre Ferrand. Well, it's a little more like 3/4, but who's counting? And that's the drink. We're gonna shake that up with some ice. All right. Strain that into your frosted coupe. And I'm gonna top that up with a little champagne. I don't know if it's the Brut or the Asti that's the right choice here. I suspect that the answer is somewhere in between, so I'm gonna do something a bit silly. I'm going to combine them. A cocktail of champagnes. And there we have what I'm told is a Chicago cocktail. There we go. That's very fun. I think I could do without the frosted glass, to be honest. I'm not insane about that, but that's the way the drink was said to be made. Orange from the Curacao. Very loud expression of orange, but like not fresh, but like, you know, like an orange sweet, like an orange candy. Not sweet like candy, but like orange flavor as opposed to the flavor of a fresh orange. I have a hard time explaining that difference, but I think you know what I mean if you think about it. The bitters are bringing cinnamon, allspice, Christmassy stuff. Christmassy. This is kind of a Christmas Day drink to me. that orange and Christmas spices really kind of calls to mind like a good fruit cake or figgy pudding kind of thing.
It isn't a fruit cake, is it?
No. It's 2 fruitcakes.
Fruitcake in America gets a very bad rap. I think if it's done well, it can be wonderful. And then with the champagne, I think that actually the split in this case, which would, you're not going to do that anywhere else because who's going to have both of those open? Normally, you're going to have one bottle or something like that. I would not go for the super brut for most of these. I think you want to go a demi-sec or sec, not quite the driest of the dry. But it's nice. This is an orange, balanced, spiced kind of confection. Not overly sweet. Kind of reminds you of like Christmas baking, and yet is champagne. I don't love the frosted glass. I think I would skip that.
Looks cool though.
It does give it a whole thing. It kind of brings it like, it reminds of a brandy crusta. Well, I hope you guys are having a good New Year's Eve, whatever. You're not watching this on New Year's Eve. Some of you might be, but for the most part, this will live forever. So I hope that 2022 is being good to you, and I hope it's being good to me, and I hope it's being good to all of us. And so very merry. Have a wonderful 2022. When is it a good time to uncork a bottle of champagne? Pretty much all the time. Unless you're like me and champagne tends to give you headaches, in which case drink something else. I don't really actually love champagne, to be perfectly blunt. I'll drink this for you, though. And then actually, I kind of like this one. It's the best, though. I like them all. But I do have a headache. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That crap that all these YouTubers out here like me are trying to get you to do. If there's a champagne cocktail that you love, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know. If you check the pinned comment below, you'll find a link to a lot of stuff, but also to Curiata. And Curiata would love to help you out with some Old Forester, or some Curacao, or some Pierre Ferrand 1840 Cognac, which is perfect for mixing in cocktails. And I'll see you all very soon with another episode of HTD. In the meantime, I've been making the show for 6 years, which is a long time. I've been doing it forever. And there's so many of these episodes, you could check them all out. Look at all these episodes that you haven't seen. There's that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. Good night, good luck, goodbye.